Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Shri Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Vrindavanadam. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Praladesha Jaya Narsinghadev Praladesha Jaya Narsinghadev Jaya Patita Pavana Gauranitai Patita Pavana Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai Shri Krishna Balaram ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai Shri Baladesh Nrsimha Bhagavan ki Jai Shri Pavan Shri Gauranitai ki Jai Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamatirayat Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtaki Hare Krishna. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, part 1, chapter 1, text 57. Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Lalita Vishaka Devi ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Kirtimantam Pratamajam Kirtimantam Pratamajam Kamsayana Kadundubi Arpayamasa Kritrena Sondrita Dati Vihvalaha Kirtimantang Pratamajam Kamsayana Kadundubi Arpayamasa Kritrena Sondrita Dati Vihvalaha Kirtimantam Pratamajam Kamsayana Kadundubi Arpayamasa Kritrena Sondrita Dati Vihvalaha Arpayamasa Kritrena Sondrita Dati Vihvalaha Kirtimantam Pradamajam Kamsayana Kadundabi Arpayamasa Kritrena Sondrita Dati Vihvalaha Mataji's Kirtimantam Pradamajam Kamsayana Kadundabi Arpayamasa Kritrena Sondrita Dati Vihvalaha Kirtimantam Pratamajam Kamsayana Kadundabi Arpayamasa Krishna Sandrita Jati Vihvala. Mataji's. Yuktimantam Pradamajam Namsayana Kadundavi Arpayamasa Krishna Sandrita Jati Vihvala. Kirtimantam Pratamajam Kamsayana Kadundavi Arpayamasa Krishna Sandritadati Vifala. Kirtimantam, by the name Kirtiman. Pratamajam, the first born baby. Kamsaya, unto Kamsa. Anakadundavihi, Vasudev. Arpayam Asa, delivered. Kritrena, with great pain. Saha, he, Vasudev. Anritat, from the breaking of the promise, or from fear of being a liar. Ativihvalaha, was very much disturbed, being afraid. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charan Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Vasudev was very much disturbed by fear of becoming a liar by breaking his promise. Thus, with great pain, he delivered his firstborn son, named Kirtiman, into the hands of Kamsa. Purport. In the Vedic system, as soon as a child is born, especially a male child, the father calls for learned brahmanas, and according to the description of the child's horoscope, the child is immediately given a name. This ceremony is called Namakaran. There are 10 different samskaras, or reformatory methods, adopted in the system of Varnashram Dharma, and the name-giving ceremony is one of them. Although Vasudev's first son was to be delivered into the hands of Kamsa, the Namkaran ceremony was performed, and thus the child was named Kirtiman. Such names are given immediately after birth. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Anmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Manchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bhavevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we're reading from Canto 10, Chapter 1, Text 57, and we're discussing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, Canto 10. So before we begin, I'd like to ask everyone to please kindly bless me, so I can speak only as far as I've realized and not further, and only speak what I've heard. So here, there's many things going on here. It's quite a difficult situation. Vasudev is anxious, and Devaki is about to be killed, and Kamsa is also anxious. Everyone is scared. Everyone has fear. So right now, today's verse is about how Vasudev, after trying everything with Kamsa, he has to resort to giving his own children, because there's no other opportunity. And so his first son was named Kirtiman. There's 6 sons before Balaram and Krishna took birth, and Krishna was the 8th. So before Balaram comes, also these 6 sons were there, and they belonged to the son of Brahma, Marichi. Marichi had 6 sons. Marichi is known to be representing the mind. And his 6 sons are Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Matsarya. So that these are the 6 sons of the mind. He didn't say any good qualities. The mind has these 6 sons. So once, as we know in the Shastra, Lord Brahma once became attracted to his own daughter, and this is the illusion of Maya. We always have to be ready. Even a pure devotee, a servant of Krishna, serving Krishna, he's the son of Krishna, he's born from Lord Vishnu's own navel, and he is also illusioned by Maya. So when he was illusioned by Maya, and he was attracted to his daughter, and he approached her, then the sons of Marichi, they were laughing. They were thinking, this is funny. And while they were laughing, Brahma, he noticed their laughing. And this is Vaishnava Aparad, actually. This was Vaishnava Aparad. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that Kshipram Bhavati Duratma, Dharmatma. So that even though a saintly person commits some mistake or fault, he should not be considered, you could say, bad. You should still consider him a saint. So they did Vaishnava Aparad in this way. And so Brahma cursed them to take birth as the sons of Hiranyakashipu. And they were cursed to become demons. The sons of Hiranyakashipu were demons. And after they became the sons of Hiranyakashipu, they became the sons of Kalanemi also, who was Kamsa in his last life. Kalanemi, in the ocean, the churning of the ocean of milk. Kalanemi was one of the demons there, and he was riding on his animal, and he wanted to kill Vishnu. So he threw his trident at Vishnu. But Krishna, Vishnu, he can't be destroyed, he can't be killed. And easily Vishnu killed him. And Kalanemi was then revived by his spiritual master using the Mrityu Sanjeevani, the Sanjeevani mantra, to give you life. And Kalanemi was very angry. He wanted to take revenge on Vishnu. So he did a lot of tapasya, kotor tapasya in Hindi. Kotor tapasya. He did very, very difficult tapasya. And he was able to receive the benedictions of not being killed by the demigods. He was very, very powerful. Very powerful. And Kalanemi, these 6 sons were then born to Kalanemi, and they also wanted to do tapasya. So demons like tapasya. Devotees don't like so much. Demons are into it. Demons like tapasya so much because they want sense gratification. They go to the demigods because they want sense gratification. And the way they approach demigods is not by puja, or in this way, is by tamagun. In the Bhagavad Gita is described different ways you can worship. And so, if you go to the demigods, some demons, they even rip their flesh off and put it into the fire. It's tamagun worship. And they do tapasya. They go through all sorts of distress. So these 6 sons also did tapasya. They were a little rebellious. They wanted their own strength. And just as we have Vaishnava aparad, Kalanemi saw this as Asura aparad. He was thinking, my sons don't worship me. They don't do tapasya for my benediction. I'm the king. They're doing the benediction. They're asking benedictions from demigods. This is Asura aparad, Rakshas aparad. So Kalanemi then also cursed them that in your next life you will be killed by your father. So they took birth as the sons of Devaki, and they were killed by Kamsa, or basically Kalanemi himself. So this is where these 6 sons come from, and it's important that we get rid of these anarthas before we invite Krishna into our hearts. These anarthas won't allow Krishna to enter. He likes a comfortable setting with love. You can't ask the king to come to a dirty place. You can't ask the son to become impure. He will always remain pure. So Krishna then took birth. Balaram took birth. He made the arrangement for Krishna to feel welcome. Then Krishna then took birth. And then we're hearing the story here now also. So they're on the chariot. As we know, they're on the chariot. And there's a voice from the sky. And Vasudev becomes anxious. Kamsa becomes anxious. Devaki becomes anxious. And Vasudev tries everything. Because Kamsa, he lets go of the reins, the horses. And he immediately grabs Devaki's hair, and with a talwar, he's about to chop her head off, actually. So it's a very sensitive situation, and in these kind of situations, it's best to not become violent, not to fight back. So Vasudev immediately says, my dear god brother, very humbly, very sweetly, my dear god brother. Sometimes we have little arguments, even in our God family, in Iskcon. Then we should always know that we should take everything very seriously. Vaishnava aparad can happen so quickly. And you don't want to make the other person's mood even worse. They're already in a bad state. You can't make it worse. They're feeding fire, and if you put a lakdi in to the fire, then it becomes more. Best thing is to get some water. You have to pacify the fire. So then Vasudev thinks there's no other opportunity. I have to give him my children. There's no other opportunity. And when the reward comes to someone who's in Rajagun, then they feel like I'm satisfied. There's Sam, Dam, Bed, Sam, Dam, Danda. Danda is punishment, and Bed, ignore. So the punishment, he couldn't punish. He tried Sam, he tried peaceful, pacifying words, and then he tried Dan. I'll give you my children. So here in this verse also we see the purport. Srila Prabhupada is talking about the Vedic system. As soon as a child is born, especially a male child, the father calls for learned brahmanas. So this Srila Prabhupada is talking about this because even though Vasudev has to give his son to Kamsa, he still gave him a name. He still did the name giving ceremony, Namkaran. This Garbhadam Samskar is very important in our Even in Iskcon, it's very important if we can do, because it gives good samskaras, a good childhood makes a good future. If you get a lot of blessings from senior devotees when you're a child, if you do yajnas and sacrifices and you hear mantras, like Prahlad Maharaj, before he even came out of the womb, Narad Muni was talking to his mother, Kayadu. That in itself is a samskara. He was listening for 9 months. The instructions that Narad Muni was giving Kayadu. So that was a samskara, and see how Prahlad Maharaj turned out. If demons, like for example Hiranyakashipu and Kayadu, how did they get some brilliant devotee son as Prahlad Maharaj? How did that happen? And on the other side, Kashyap and Aditi, they gave birth to Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. So demons are giving birth to devotees, and devotees are giving birth to demons. Or a circumstance can be like that. And the reason is Garbhadham Samskar. That's how important Garbhadham Samskar is, that when Hiranyakashipu was on the day of conception of his child, Narad Muni sent these 2 birds to stop his tapasya. And these birds were shouting, Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. They were doing this mantra on the tree. And Hiranyakashipu was doing tapasya and he got agitated. But in his mind, while conceiving that same day, Vishnu, 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 while he's conceiving. So the consciousness of the person at the time of conception brings about the progeny, the right progeny. But we can see Kashyap and Aditi, it was the wrong time, the wrong place. Aditi was lusty. Kashyap didn't want to conceive at that time, but he had to pacify her. And so the samskara was not there. No Garbhadhan samskara was performed. And then demons were born. So Srila Prabhupada gives us a nice method. There's so many samskaras, 10, 15, 16 samskaras. Srila Prabhupada says, on the day of conception, just chant 50 rounds. He told one Miss Sally, not Sally, Sham Dasi. He told her, on the day of conception, chant 50 rounds. That's your Garbhadham samskar done. And Vasudev also had great samskaras. On the time of his birth, the reason he's called Anakadundubihi. Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan Radha Vishaka Devi ki jai, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Gaunitai ki jai, Shri Pulare Srila Singha Bhagavan ki jai, Jagannath Swadharani ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So his name was Anakadundubihi. And that means that when he was born, the demigods, they were blowing conch shells, they were blowing bugles, drums, playing drums, horns, everything. So there was a great tumultuous sound when Vasudeva was born. And Srila Prabhupada says, Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. Actually, this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam explaining how Lord Shiva is concentrating his mind always in Sattvagun. But also this applies to Vasudeva, who is the embodiment of Sattvagun. And because of these great samskaras, he has fear. Now, fear is not always the most easiest thing to manage. Bhai. It's very difficult to manage. What is the right fear? What is the wrong fear? In Bhagavad Gita, it says, Pravrittim cha nivrittim cha kare kare bhayavaye bandham moksham chayaveti buddhi sapartha sattviki. So one should know, if you're in mode of goodness, you should know what is to be done, what is not to be done, what work is to be performed, what work is not to be performed, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared. So Vasudeva, his fear is a good fear. It's called a healthy fear. He's fearful of losing his wife. He is fearful of losing the opportunity for Krishna to come and take birth in this material world. He's fearful in connection to Krishna. But it's not a bad fear, it's a healthy fear. Sometimes we think that I'm not scared of anything. I'm the most courageous person. Mera bay nahi hai. I'm fearless. Abhay Charan. This is a little immature also. We need fear. Fear helps us to target a certain danger, be alert to it, and solve the problem. If we're not fearful, then actually we won't be able to live spiritually or materially. Fear helps us to survive. Fear helps us to thrive also. There's bad fear and there's good fear. So Bhartahari, he says, I mean, he's one of the poets, and he had his wife, and his wife was so beautiful that he wrote Shringar Shataka, 100 poems of 100 verses of the beauty of the material world, the beauty of enjoying the material world. And then his wife cheated on him. His wife was not faithful, and then he wrote 100 verses on Vairagya Shataka. He was a poet, so his natural swabhav was whatever he is feeling, he just writes. And Krishna, Providence helped him to understand. So there's bad fear. Fear, for example, people in the material world, they fear disease because that will stop their enjoyment. They fear to have a tax. People are scared to become rich because the more rich you are, the more taxed you'll become. Fear for Arjun. He was going to be dishonored. Krishna told him, dishonor is worse than death, and that's why you should fight. So a person who's very responsible, he's managing, dishonor for him is fearful. For a beautiful person, dishonor is being ugly, having white hairs in the mirror. For a beautiful person is most fearful. So in this Vairagya Shataka, Bhartahari is describing different types of fear in the material world. And Janani Prabhu in Mayapur, he also mentions that fear is the root feeling in this material world. In the Vaikuntha means there's no anxiety. And here is where there is just anxiety. There's only anxiety. Even in spiritual life we have anxiety, but that's a different kind of anxiety, a spiritual anxiety. So he says, Janani Prabhu says that even the basic needs, ahar, nidra, bhaya, metunan, ahar, eating, nidra, sleeping, bhay, obviously, bhay is there, and metun. These four things are also based on fear. Ahar, if you don't eat, you'll die. You're fearful of death, you're fearful of being unable to move your body, to have energy to enjoy, fearful of not eating, then fearful of not sleeping. I need to sleep, I need to stay healthy, I need to stay active. If you sleep, Srila Prabhupada says, if you sleep too much, you become lazy. If you sleep too little, you become crazy. So there's also fear depending on how much I sleep. There's also fear on metun. How can I enjoy my senses? There's fear of loneliness nowadays in the world. Everyone is feared to be alone. People who don't have friends, they're very fearful. They have a lot of anxiety. So this metun also is based on fear. But Vasudev's fear was healthy. It was a spiritual fear. He wanted to protect Krishna. He wanted to protect Krishna's devotees. So also in our life, we should take note that there's unhealthy fear and there's healthy fear. An unhealthy fear is, for example, the ones we are describing: being fearful of disease, being fearful of being ugly, being fearful of being taxed. I mean, grahastas may have to fear that. Being fearful of having competition in our life. He's better than me. That fear, that's also fear. This is, Srila Prabhupada wants us to stop this kind of defense. It's a defense. To have fear is defense. So Srila Prabhupada says, less eating, less sleeping, less defense, less enjoyment, sexual enjoyment. So we have to stop these things. We should instead be fearful of making aparads. I mean, we can also discuss. One time Srila Prabhupada was asked, how can I become more serious in Krishna consciousness? And Srila Prabhupada said,
Devi hi esha gunamai. Mama maya durateya. Mam eva ye prapadyante. Mayam etam tarantite. You have to realize, if you want to become serious, to the proportionate degree you want seriousness in your life, he says you have to understand that you cannot cross Maya. She's too powerful for you. And the more we realize this, he says, the more scared we are of Maya, the more serious we'll become in Krishna consciousness. Like Srila Prabhupada, he used to go to the deities and pray, please Krishna, don't let me fall down. I don't pray that. I don't pray like that. I'm thinking, Krishna, please give me, pure love. Krishna, please help me in this Bhagavatam class today. Krishna, don't let me fall down. Srila Prabhupada, a pure devotee, saying, Krishna, please don't let me fall down. And his students, his disciples are awestruck. Srila Prabhupada, a pure devotee, his perspective is, let me not fall down. Krishna, please help me not to fall down. Because he's serious. He knows the power of Maya. Actually, there's before we get to Nishta, there's lots of anartha nivrittis. There's 5 last things that we have to conquer to go to Nishta. So a devotee should also be scared. I should not fall and fail in my spiritual life by not overcoming my anarthas. The graveyard of devotees is anartha nivritti, is where devotees normally get stuck. So we have to be also careful that we can go past this graveyard. There's enjoying too much in bhakti even. There's aparadas also. In the Puranas there's hundreds of aparads. There's desire and attachments also. And breaking of vows. And see, like this. So we have to be scared also. We've made a promise to our spiritual master. We've made a promise, no illicit sex, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication. That's physically we can easily manage that, but not mentally. Not mentally. So these are things that we should be scared of, the subtle anarthas that are still with us. And if we don't pass this, then we don't come to the stage of Nishta. So this fear is good. Sometimes we make a mistake in our services or in our bhakti, in our sadhana, and it forces us to be fearful. It forces us to have doubts. I thought I was a pure devotee in the beginning, Everyone thinks they're very pure and doing so much service, and then they make a mistake and they realize, no, I'm not so pure. And they have to force themselves to become more serious. So this fear is very healthy. It can help us to have more motivation in our life. Seriousness, this fear can turn into dedication, commitment, motivation. I don't want to fall down in bhakti. That gives you dedication. I'm fearful of Maya. That gives you motivation. Let me surrender to Krishna more. Let me take full dependence on his mercy. Let me have full faith that he'll always protect me. If we didn't have fear, then in the car and in the aeroplane and on the scooties, in the beginning we won't chant Namaste Narashingaya. This is based on fear. You drive, you're not going to chant Namaste Narashingaya after you get out of bed. You may. But when you go into the aeroplane, when you go into a fearful situation, that's when you take shelter more. You start chanting Namaste Narashingaya, and everyone goes crazy, getting mridangas out. But it's coming from a point of fear. We're fearful of having impediment in our service, or having an accident and having an impediment in our service. The root cause is fear. Unless we can purify that, then the root cause is love. Normally devotional service starts by becoming fearful. But in Iskcon, we start devotional service by having love, bhakti. There's one story, Srila Prabhupada disciple, and in the times of Iskcon, early times of Iskcon, the government was thinking, these Iskcon devotees, they are CIA. They're very kaput. They may show that they're dancing and singing, but inside they're secret agents, So actually they sent many people to kidnap devotees, Apaharan, in their van, back of the gari, disciples here, and they tried to twist their mind, tried to transform their mind. So one Mataji, disciple of Srila Prabhupada, she got kidnapped and she was taken away, and the Gundas, they tried to transform her mind. They tried to change her Krishna consciousness. So she started praying. What did she start praying? Namaste Narashingaya. After the whole verse, after the whole song is done, what they did, they tried to transform her. It didn't work. Then they brought in a Kala Jadu, black witch, witchy tantric. So she came in and she started doing her tantras. And the disciple of Srila Prabhupada was very scared. She started chanting Nrsingadev mantra. Nothing happened. Then she started chanting Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna is the Yoga Dharma. Surely the witch is doing her tantra. Hare Krishna should defeat her. Hare Krishna is the ultimate mantra, Maha mantra. Didn't work. She's still doing her tantra mantras. And then she said, let me try and say my spiritual master's mantra. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Deshatarine. And the witch stopped. The witch stopped her tantra mantras and she put her hand up like this and she started to shake. And the people, the Gundas, the police, whoever they were like, why are you stopping? Carry on. She points, there's an old man behind this woman and he's holding his stick at me and he's saying, get out. I can't stay here. So in that way she left, the witch left. So this fear, it helped her to take shelter more of different mantras, different Hare Krishna mantra. She tried it. She tried Nrsingadev mantra. And by the process of fear, she came to a realization that only my spiritual master can save me, because I have full faith in him. I've not seen Nrsingadev, I've not seen Krishna, but I've seen my spiritual master. And in that way, fear, even though in that time it was a very dangerous situation, that fear helped her to have a realization, the most powerful realization, how much we should surrender unto our spiritual master. So here Vasudeva is having fear also, but no matter he's having fear, even though he's having fear, he still delivers his child. And it says with great pain, what kasht ke saath, kasht ke, he was delivering his baby to Kams with great pain. But doesn't Vasudeva know? Doesn't he know there's no, you can't do anything to the soul? You can't kill it, you can't do anything? See, devotees are naturally compassionate. Like for example, Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he was on his deathbed, he was at his time to go, and he was going through the most pain. He was suffering so much, but he didn't feel it. Instead, he transcended that pain. He transcended, he became superior to that pain. He didn't let him affect it. It didn't let him be affected by it. Similarly, Vasudeva is not letting his pain affect him. He's following Dharma. But it doesn't mean that there's no pain. When you're a pure devotee, you're completely painless and you have a cold heart and you don't cry. In the other class I mentioned if a disciple went to his guru and said, my wife died, I didn't cry, I'm ready for sannyas. The guru said, take marriage again. Do marriage again, because you didn't understand the point of marriage. You didn't understand. If you can't cry for your wife, how can you cry for Krishna? If you can't cry for Krishna, how can you take sannyas? So this pain is good. And what is the greatest pain? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asked, what is the greatest pain? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, separation from Vaishnavas. Viraha, Vaishnav ke viraha. Separation from Vaishnavas. We should Actually, when devotees leave, when Maharaj comes back and forth, when our spiritual master leaves our sight, when devotees leave for their trips, we should actually cry. We should actually feel, I've lost my chance. Because we say vancha kalpa, vancha is desire, kalpa turu, desire tree, who can fulfill my desires. Vancha kalpa turu vrishcha, kripa sindhu, the devotees are kripa sindhu, they're an ocean of mercy. They will tell you when you're doing something wrong. They'll lift you up when you're falling down. They'll high-five you when you're doing great. They're your best friends. They're taking you to Krishna. Vancha kalpa turu vrishcha, kripa sindhu bhevcha. Patita nam pavanevyo. They are the most compassionate people. They can purify all the conditioned souls. Krishna tells, Yamuna, or is it Ganga? After 5,000 years, during these 5,000 years, after I leave, you will purify everyone. After 5,000 years, my devotees will sing, they will wear tilak, they will wear kantimala, they will wear dhoti kurta, chant my holy names, and by seeing them, by being touched by them, they will purify the whole world. So we should cry when devotees leave our side. And if we don't cry, then we can't make spiritual advancement. If we can't be attached to devotees, how can we be attached to Krishna? It's not like, I'll be attached to Krishna and then I'll be attached to devotees. I'll be attached to Krishna first, because he's my daddy, he's my father, and then I'll be purified, and then I'll be attached to his parts and parcels. No, it's the other way around. Bhakti comes from a bhakta. Srila Prabhupada, if he didn't come, where would we be? So Bhakti is coming from bhaktas. If we didn't meet our guru, first guru, who brought us into the movement, where would we be? And we should cry. We should cry. This will purify us. So he's doing his duty even in pain. He's doing his duty even in pain means that he's giving us an example that even though in a painful situation, mentally, physically, spiritually, economically, socially, there's a bad situation, you should do your service to Krishna. You should not give up your service to Krishna. We were hearing glorification of the senior brahmacharis yesterday, and no matter how late this one devotee, senior brahmachari, no matter how late he sleeps, he will still get up for Mangal Aarti, 4:30. He'll be here, neat, clean, tidy, ready to chant, ready to sing the glories of Krishna. And he sleeps maybe 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, but he's still ready. So even though we may feel physical anxiety, spiritual anxiety, mental anxiety, we should not cause that. We should not say it's a barrier. Actually, the barrier, like in your road, there's a big block. You're walking and there's a big blockage, a big brick. It looks like a barrier, but if you can manifest that barrier, that blockage, and you can turn it into a stepping stone, then you can go up. So it looks like it's an obstacle, but we can transform that obstacle. We can spiritualize that obstacle. We can transcend that obstacle and make it a stepping stone to go to another destination, to go to a higher place, to go to a new level of consciousness, to go to a new level of realization. When you're having problems in the ashram or in Krishna consciousness, there's a fight between two devotees. It's an obstacle. When you come back together, that obstacle turns into realization of how you can serve Krishna better together, or how you can serve each other better together. So the obstacles are for our purification to make better friendships in Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada, when he came to America, there was many problems for him also. He went through great pain, but he never gave up. He was following Utsaha Nishtaya Dharya Tat Tat Karma Pravartana Sangatyaga Sutovrate Sadbir Bhakti Prasiddhiti. He was Utsahan, he had enthusiasm. Nishtayat, he had confidence. Dairyat, he had patience. Tat Tat Karma Pravartana, he was following the rules, regulations. Sangatyaga, he didn't, of course he associated with many Americans who were not of the best consciousness. We didn't take their association. And Satovritte, he did everything that his acharyas wanted him to do. He just followed authority. And in this way, tattenu kampam susumikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam. If we just tolerate the pains, carry on with our service, be together, describe our pains in friendship to one another, and we tolerate our past karma, even in Krishna consciousness, then we will be eligible to receive that, you could say, after a person leaves their life, they leave the will. When I'm dead, I'll leave 50,000 rupees of 5 crore for my son. But if the son doesn't follow, if the son doesn't tolerate, if he leaves the house, then he can't access that will. He doesn't deserve it, actually. So Krishna is saying, to deserve bhakti, to deserve entrance back into my kingdom, tolerate. Tattenu kampam susumikshamano. We patiently suffer, and we carry on speaking to Krishna and glorifying him with prayers. And this tapasya that we will do, Prahlad Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, Dhruv Maharaj, they are famous because of their tapasya. They gave up everything, and in the most painful situations, they delivered devotional service. They delivered bhakti. That's why they're Mahajans. And they were always having faith in Krishna. Yatro Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurudharaha, Tatra Shiva Jyobhuti, Dhruvanyati Mati. They have full faith. And whenever there is Krishna and Arjuna, when there is Krishna and the devotees, there's morality, dharma, opulence. So this, I'll conclude here. So Vasudev, he never stopped following dharma. Even though he was going to give his baby to Kamsa, he gave him a name, Kirtiman. Why to give a name? He's going to die. So even in a awkward situation, one that has no favorable circumstances for yourself, you still follow dharma. And even when he was on the chariot, he followed dharma. And in both times, dharma protected him. Wife was saved, Kamsa didn't want the baby. And both times, because he followed dharma, even in unfavorable circumstances, dharma protected him. We know Narad Muni intervened, because when a pure devotee is there, then their desire is more important. But Vasudev was protected because he never strayed from dharma. So I'll end here. Here we can just conclude that we need to be scared. There's healthy fear and unhealthy fear. And this fear can help us to be motivated in Krishna consciousness. And we should go through painful situations to purify our Krishna consciousness and surrender more to Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhishta kripasindhu bhairavijapalitana bhavane Krishna. Rasaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Bol.